So for the last time, for those that have heard me 3 times, this will be the final time I say this, but thank you all so much for joining the breakout session. Want to fundraise for OCRA, become an OCRA hero. My name is Jake Carlin, and I'm the Associate Director of Donor Relations. Just 1 second, I'm looking at the chat. And, just for everyone there, I will be monitoring the chat. So if you hear me get quiet just like that, I'm just answering questions. So feel free to ask fundraising questions. If you have any questions that you might think are just more so for an OCRA staff member, you can always direct message. And with that, let's get started. Who is an OCRA hero? First off, let me start off by saying that anyone who's joined this chat, regardless if you fundraised for OCRA in the past or currently doing so, you are an OCRA hero because you want to learn how to start fundraising, to become a more efficient fundraiser, or maybe you just have some questions. So an OCRA hero is anyone willing to support and participate in the active process of raising critical funds and increasing awareness to help OCRA fight ovarian cancer. It's easy. All you need to do is to find your reason, your mom, sister, aunt, grandmother, friend, cousin, neighbor, colleague, or even yourself. And in this presentation, and by having the conversations with myself and those in this session, we're going to learn how to make a difference and how to really ensure that we're raising the most amount of funds and awareness possible for our community. So the first way I would like to talk about how to become an OCRA hero is Ovarian Cycle. And Ovarian Cycle is the OCRA's signature peer-to-peer fundraising event. And what the event actually is it's a series of indoor spin events that inspire people to exercise, get fit while raising funds, and awareness for ovarian cancer research. Just to talk about the facts surrounding Ovarian Cycle, since 2013, it's taken place in 37 cities, has seen over 8,000 riders participate, and has raised just over $5.6 million, along with invaluable ovarian cancer awareness. So what Ovarian Cycle is, it's a way to gather your friends and family in a comfortable, fun, and endurance-focused environment where you host a series of classes. Typically, Ovarian Cycle classes for the first event are about 2 to 3 hours, and as you grow the event, it might grow in size. We really like to keep each class limited to a 1-hour cycle, just so people don't tire themselves out if they want to get involved just for that one class. We certainly have riders who actually sign up for multiple classes per the event. We would like to say that 6 hours is about the maximum that we recommend either a first-time or 10th-time rider, as that really takes up a big chunk of the day, and we want to make sure that the event is focused, that your committee, which we'll get into later, is focused and can really put all the efforts possible into hosting the best event. Just to see some photos, that one is from Atlanta, actually. This one is from Jackson, and this one is from New York. And as you can see, they're all having fun. Everyone has a smile, and that's the purpose of the Ovarian Cycle model, is to get your friends and family together who might be avid spin cyclists. They might just want to get out for a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, but they all have this unifying cause that they are here to fundraise for ovarian cancer, to empower the community, and to just have a good time. So as OCRA has grown, and with the help of our Ovarian Cycle model, we've actually decided to put a spin on the Ovarian Cycle. And what that means is we've started this type of fundraising, signature peer-to-peer, getting your friends and family to come, again, for that 1-hour, 2-hour class, sign up, get on a bike, ask your friends and family for funds, for research, for awareness. But we realized, why limit the community just to indoor spinning? Because if spinning is not your thing, you could use the same fundraising model for a bunch of different types of fitness, such as yoga, HIIT, Zumba, and that's just to name a few. And the reason we did that is, as we'll get later on in how to host a successful event, we realized we need each event to be tailored to your community and to you personally. Why are you hosting this fitness class? You might not be a spin enthusiast, or your friend might own a HIIT cardio workout studio. Use that same model but target it to your community and to you individually. That way, your community is always going to feel that this event is special to them, and therefore they'll raise the most amount of money possible. If that type of indoor structured class is not your type of endurance passion, maybe you like running marathons, maybe triathlons, or other types of individual endurance events, signing up for races, going to either local, national, or even international, you can use this passion for endurance to still fundraise for OCRA. We could help set you up with a fundraising page so that you can tell your community, hey, I'm running the Jersey City, which is where I'm from, the Jersey City Marathon, or I'm running the New York City Marathon. Learn about my story, donate today. That way, any type of endurance passion you may have, indoor spinning, which is ovarian cycle, the put a spin on ovarian cycle, which could be HIIT cardio, yoga, Zumba, all of those types of class structure can be used to fundraise for OCRA. And if you looked at more individualistic fundraising, where you're running a marathon, maybe the TD Fibro bike tour, if you get into those races, contact us, because we can help you set up a fundraising page so that you can tell your story the same way as ovarian cycle enthusiasts and OCRA heroes. The charity partner program really relates to ovarian cycle and the other types of class structured fitness programs. And what the charity partner program is for our OCRA Hero community partners, which are local nonprofit organizations that promote and participate in OCRA's fitness events. 50% of all funds raised by the charity partner team is donated back to the community partner. This is a great way if you look up in your local area, what organizations are fighting against ovarian cancer, what organizations are created to empower ovarian cancer patients and community. Look them up in your area, or you can alternatively contact us and we can see what's happening in your area in terms of our community partners. And we can reach out to them to say, sign up for, the Jersey City Ovarian Cycle event. It's a great way to get the awareness, the research funds out there, but also give back to the local communities that are fighting ovarian cancer as well. And they can sign up for their own team and have their donors, their community, come join our efforts at the Jersey City Ovarian Cycle event. And the great news is it helps both parties, because we'll cut them back a check for 50% of all funds raised by their team. It incentivizes them to bring their friends and family and their donors, because they can receive, funds back to help their mission, but it also helps grow our program and helps grow the national and local mindset that ovarian cycle, and again, those types of class structured events bring to the community. Speak on the other hand of ovarian cycle, which is again that signature peer-to-peer, we have OCRA's do it yourself. And what that is it's a more fluid and ambiguous, in a good way, model to fundraise for OCRA. And all it takes is the drive to change people's lives. You can start an online fundraiser, create an event, spin with ovarian cycle, donate your birthday, climb a mountain. Really, the possibilities are endless. And the great thing about our do-it-yourself or DIY model is the more creative and personal, the better. Right here, we actually had a donor, I think it was in 2019, Barbara Gallagher, who actually loved climbing mountains. And upon her retirement and her professional career, she said, I want to take this passion that I had and make it become a fundraiser for OCRA. Again, super creative and super personal. And what she did was she climbed mountains all across the world. She had it as this big bucket list. And she said, you know what, if this is going to benefit me so personally, why can't I change that type of mentality and make it back towards the community? So she brought her OCRA flag and she asked her friends and family for every mountain she climbed that they would donate. She had a blog post, and it's those types of super creative, fluid ideas where, I can't really, as an expert fundraiser at the OCRA staff, ask you to climb a mountain because that is quite ridiculous, but also amazing. But to Barbara, it was so personal. And that was her journey of how she wanted to fundraise for OCRA. And all it took was a conversation with me and the OCRA staff to be like, what are your passions? What do you want to do? and how can we turn that into a fundraiser, into a way to bring about awareness or research for ovarian cancer. This one is one of my favorite families, and they are based out in Chicago, and the husband and wife, the wife who unfortunately has ovarian cancer, love running, but they realized that marathons might not be their cup of tea. So they joined the Chicago Half Marathon, and they didn't want to stop there. They could have just done, as we talked about earlier in the presentation, that type of endurance event, very individualistic. It would be the husband and wife running. They would ask their friends and family to donate, but they said, you know what? The creative thing about the Chicago Half Marathon is the 5K is actually hosted on the same day, just at a different location. So instead of just going about themselves, they decided to have this do-it-yourself mentality where, yes, you could join, you can donate to the husband or wife's page, but you could also sign up, and they incentivized their friends to sign up by giving them, as you can see here with the matching blue shirts, they had, customized swag shirts, and they encouraged their community to get involved and really make this a fundraising team. Again, it was something that they took their passion of running, and both ways are great. They could have just ran the half marathon on their own, asked for donations for friends and family to get involved that way, but they tried to do a different route where they were still going to run, they were going to ask for donations, but they wanted their friends and family to get involved as well, and they wanted them to run the 5K. So it's that type of really creative personal mindset of, Jake, I have this passion. I'm not sure how to change it into a fundraiser or a platform to raise awareness, but I know what I want to do. How can we work together? How can I get my community involved, both as, a fundraiser, so someone who just donates to you, as an active participant, running that 5K. And I'll go in the next slide about a couple of different ideas of how to do this. And it's that type of mindset that really allows this program to become so individual and personal to you. So here are some popular DIY fundraising ideas. And again, this list should not limit you to whatever you feel is the best way to fundraise for OCRA, because again, the more creative and personal, the better it responds to your community. So you can do golf tournaments, 5Ks, birthday parties, workplace events, community dinners or galas. You can simply just host a fundraising page, and we'll get into the impact that virtual fundraising really has on the OCRA community. Along with that, you can do school fundraisers, a spa party. If you're a motorcycle enthusiast, you can host a ride in that sense. Simply a paint night with your friends and family, host a dance marathon. And what we're seeing more and more, if there's any gamers or streamers out there, is utilizing that platform to raise awareness and funds for OCRA. All of this to say is that with DIY, the best way to get involved is to do what makes you passionate about, because then your friends and family can kind of follow in line by, again, either donating or getting involved in that paint night. And it's that type of creative outlet that really lets this program flourish. So regardless of the ovarian cycle or that class structured, HIIT cardio, Zumba, or even the DIY, there's always 6 easy steps to hosting a successful in-person event. Now, this doesn't always fit the same format for every single event, but this is a really good guideline to see if you're hosting this type of event, what does it mean? How can I ensure that it's successful? What are the steps I should be following? So the first 3 I'm going to just talk about here, which are form a committee. And again, this is always optional. We do recommend that you bring your friends and family to help you, not just in a monetary or in a donation sense, but to get involved. So if we're talking about ovarian cycle, have them help find a venue. And we'll talk about that in step 3. Have them find the best date, which is step 2. Have them help fill the room. So really make them be a recruiter for the room, getting their friends and family, expanding upon their passion to fill the room. Have them target those specific tasks, such as recruiting, venue selection, date, and let them each have their own tasks so that you can focus on the overarching event success. So step number 2, which is determine the type and length of the event. Again, we spoke about it earlier. We typically recommend, again, for ovarian cycle, but this does, relate to DIY as well. we typically recommend maybe 2 to 3 hours at most if it's your first time event, regardless, again, ovarian cycle or DOI, because although people have the passion and want to help you and help the cause, we do all have obligations, especially most events happen on the weekend. If you have kids, if you have family matters to attend to, it's good to have a very targeted and concise method to fundraising. Always be cognizant of what holidays are happening. It might not be a holiday that you celebrate, but if it's a holiday your community celebrates, it might not be the best idea to back up your event to the day before or after or even on that type of holiday. And again, determine the type. So that goes to, if we're speaking about ovarian cycle, is it an indoor spinning class? Is it going to be a HIIT cardio because you might have a connection both personally or maybe a friend owns a studio? Or for DIY, again, that personal touch of why am I hosting this event? It's because I'm passionate about this initiative. If it's a paint night, if it's a school fundraiser, if it's a golf outing. And that kind of leads into step 3, which is selecting your venue and date. So along with the length, which I kind of said about the 2 to 3 hours, you want to be cognizant of what is that date looking like for your community. And that comes back to step 1, which is forming your committee. They'll be best able to, if you give them the task to finding the date, they'll be able to survey your community, survey the committee to see not only what day can everyone attend, but what day works best for everyone to really put 100% effort into this event. Because the more people get involved, not just from a, again, donating sense, but they're able to dedicate time and effort, don't let the date by having only one option hinder you. Have a couple in the background when you've picked, the type of length of the event. Have a couple options for the date, and then let your committee help you solve which date is the best for your community. And along with that is selecting the venue. And that goes back to steps 1 and 2. Have your committee find the venue with you. Is it a friend? Is it someone on the committee? Again, just talking about ovarian cycle. Does someone own a gym or know someone that owns a gym? Do you have a relationship with them? Is the venue donating at cost or free? And all of these types of ideas kind of all, and this is why I talk about, they all kind of mush into one step, is as you form that committee and have people have different tasks, they'll kind of find the venue, which then leads to the date, because the venue obviously has to host the date. So they have to make sure that they're available that day. And once you have that venue and date, you kind of get a sense of, okay, what kind of length should the event be? If it's a golf outing, are we just doing a morning tee off, or are we doing an all day tee off? If it's an ovarian cycle program, is the gym only allowed to have us for an hour, so we have to consolidate the classes, or are they free all day? And then with that, it also helps determine the type. If you have connections to a HIIT studio class, it might be best to do a HIIT cardio class or HIIT studio class because you have the venue there to help you. Now, the next 3 slides are going to be a little more in depth, so I wanted to talk about them personally. Perfect. So the setting the goal and creating a budget. Always start with your fundraising goal. What is the amount of money you want to donate to OCRA? Then you can work backwards by setting your budget to fit the goal. Look at the per person cost versus the revenue. See what the venue cost per person is, and if there is any, and the cost for the attending. This is a great way to correlate the budget with the goal. If you need help setting budgets or determining a realistic goal, we can provide documents and guidance to do so. You always want to see that this is a fundraising event. Yes, this is a great way for you to gather your friends and family and to have your friends and family enjoy your passions. Again, is it studio, HIIT studio? Is it ovarian cycle? Is it a golf outing? But this is meant to fundraise for OCRA or to raise awareness. So it's always the first goal in line when it's setting the budget and trying to get that revenue amount raised for us. That's when it comes back to the first 3 steps we talked about. What costs are there? More than likely your costs come from the venue. So if you can get the venue donated at no cost, then you've solved a large chunk of the cost of the event, therefore allowing more of the revenue to come into OCRA and the community's pocket. So a great way to look at this is to look at a particular goal calculation that we've done from a typical ovarian cycle event. So as you see here, sorry, let me just make sure that the chat is open. As you see here, we have the rider registration for ovarian cycle, which is typically $50 to join the class. And that can be, that can be different per ovarian cycle, a HIT studio. You can work with the gyms or DIY, and we can help you set those registration fees. We typically do, again, recommend $50 to register for the class. So let's just say you have 36 riders registered. Well, 36 times 50 is $1,800. Then from that event that we're looking at, we had about an average fundraising of $145. And again, 36 riders times 145 is $5,200. Then you're always going to have large donations and match donations. As you can see, we had 5 riders donate $500, so it's $2,500, and 1 match, so it's an additional $500. Now, this is all 2020 hindsight that I'm showing to you what a typical ovarian cycle goal calculation can look like. It all comes back to those 6 easy steps. Talking to your committee, setting a realistic goal of, again, it's easiest always to talk about ovarian cycle because it's such a calculative model. Talk to your committee and see, okay, we can get the room filled for 2 hours, so 2 one-hour classes. Each room has 20 bikes. So you could assume that you can hopefully fill the room with 40 bikes, but it's always safe to maybe shave off a couple of bikes just so your calculations and what you actually fundraise look the same. So from there, you can have 35 bikes. You could assume that each person registering is going to donate that $50, and then talk to your committee. See if as you're planning the event, they already know that they could have their company match a gift, or that they're going to donate $1,000, or that one of the committee members' parents or family or friend is going to donate $500. It's always great as you're planning the event, and again, those steps 1 through 3, to really make sure that you have a good sense of how the event is going to turn out as it's happening, and not just right before crunching the numbers. Okay, did I hit my goal? Did I not? It's always good to take the time in planning and almost soft ask your committee and community, hey, I'm going to be hosting this event in, March of 2022. I'm not sure the date, but I really want to raise $5,000 for OCRA. Do you know a gym that I could use? Do you want to get involved in a committee member? Hey, do you want to just donate? Great. Let me know what you can donate. I'd really love to see what I can do for the community. This is such a cause that is near and dear to me. And that type of mindset, and using this structure of looking at the revenue and the amount that you can donate to OCRA as the most important, and then scaling it back to getting the cost as minimal or if non-existent as possible, is the best way to make sure that you can always host a successful fundraiser and a successful event in that sense. We talked about it briefly when we talked about the committee and through the goal calculation and the other steps, but recruitment and fundraising is one of the most, if not the most important step to any successful fundraising event, as the name entails. So one of the most important parts to any event is making sure that it's well attended and there are additional ways for people to donate, whether it's a raffle, auction, or other fun activity. Remember, the goal is fundraising, not just participation. Be personal with recruiting. Tell your story and inspire your friends and family to join. So with that, again, always rely on your committee. And if you don't have a committee, take your time planning the event, because this is a lot to burden on one person. Fundraising is always the idea that you must ask your community to get involved. If your riders, again, ovarian cycle or DIY, your golf outing participants, if they're not asked to fundraise, if they're not asked to donate or to ask their friends to donate, they might feel that their ticket to the event, their rider registration is more than enough. And sometimes it is. And we don't want to ever pressure our guests, but we always want to ask them, hey, we're so grateful that you're riding in the ovarian cycle or participating in the HIT cardio workout or participating in my paint party or wine night. We're really looking for additional ways to fundraise. This is such a near and dear cause to me. Do you mind sending your friends and family a text? Hey, can you donate $15, $20 to OCRA? I'm participating in this paint night. If you would love to come, that's great. If not, we're really just asking for our friends and family to donate. But don't worry, even with yourself and your committee, OCRA is also here to help. Depending on the event and the structure, we could help you create a website. We could do targeted e-blast to your area. Social media is always your friend. We could help with creating event promotional materials, and we always have a fundraising toolkit. All of these different pieces, your story, your passion, your committee getting involved, and OCRA's help is a really well-rounded way to recruit to come to the event, which is again, relying on telling your story, getting the word out there both personally and working with OCRA to send it to our database, but also having your committee and yourself to ask those who are attending the event to fundraise if it's plausible. You don't maybe want to ask your participants who are coming to a very high-end dinner gala that you might be hosting. It might be more so you want to lean into having a raffle or an auction. It doesn't always need to be, hey, make sure every one of your friends that participates in this event ask 10 of their friends to donate. It's always particular and personal to the event. So sometimes it's better to ask your friends and family, hey, we're going to do an auction. Thank you so much for coming. But if you have any items that you would like to donate, can you please donate? We want to do an auction to raise additional funds. Or if the venue you have has an item that they could donate, someone on your committee can always be committed, I pun right there, to the raffle or auction. They can then get the entire community involved, not only by attending the event, but getting involved in the fundraising sense of bidding on an item, buying a raffle ticket. And again, always they could ask their friends and family to donate. The last way to really raise the funds, other than just the typical fundraising and recruitment, is monetary in-kind sponsors. So there are two types of sponsors. There's the monetary, and as the name suggests, it's a cash donation to your event, and the in-kind, which is a donation of items, services, raffle items, goodie bags, graphic design, food. And that kind of leads into the previous slide of having that auction or raffle. It's a really great way to get your community involved in the event, not only just attending, but to have some sort of raffle, auction, some sort of activity to do while there that complements the event structure. Always cash donations from companies that want to write off a large amount or might be really committed to you, or friends or family that want to sponsor the event, putting their name on any type of swag bag or on the website or emails. It's a really great way to boost your revenue numbers. And as I said, both types of these sponsorships are vital to any event. Again, having a committee member or your entire committee focusing on reaching out to local businesses can help. If you know any local businesses as the chair of the event, that can really help, because companies want to get involved just like your friends. They just need to be asked in an appropriate manner that also benefits them to coming to the event, that you want them to have the recognition of sponsoring your event, both in monetary and in-kind donation. And last but not least is the week of the event. As the event approaches, we want to make sure that you are registered and prepared for the event. That is one of the most important parts, is that everyone is registered, everyone is prepared for the event, they know of all the details. You don't want to be running around having guests who aren't registered, or riders might not be associated to a bike yet. Let's just make sure that the week leading up, everything is squared away so that you're only focusing on the day of the event, and you're just making sure that it's a happy and fun-filled event. You're making sure that all the OCRA materials, pens, brochures, banners, they're all accounted for and set up. And that's something that you work with OCRA and myself to make sure that we ship it to you in a timely manner, that everything is set up at the venue. You've communicated with your venue and done a walkthrough with your committee, making sure that everything, it looks great, that you can just have fun when you get there. I keep saying the word fun is because I see it time and time again, is that we have our OCRA heroes so focused on the fundraising aspect, and as they should be, that they forget to have fun with it. And that type of stress that permeates to your community, it's felt. You want this to always be a fun-filled time, because it encourages those who attend the event to realize how much fun it is to fundraise for OCRA, to empower the ovarian cancer community, to get everyone together. So this is a really great time to emphasize the fun factor of it. You've already most likely raised the money. Yes, you could have your auction and raffle at the event, but you've raised the money leading up to this event. Now it's time to celebrate. Now it's time to get on that bike, to do that golf outing, that paint party, the community dinner, and just enjoy the company of those surrounding you that want to get involved and want to help. Additional ways to fundraise, and this leads to virtual events. Now, if any of you joined last year, we focused a lot on COVID-19 and virtual fundraising. And at the time, it was more of a means to an end in virtual fundraising. We really showed that, obviously we cannot be in person. So let's focus on virtual fundraising until we can be back in person. But if you ask any professional fundraiser or those in the nonprofit landscape, they've realized that virtual events have made such an impact on the fundraising landscape that no matter what happens tomorrow as the state and the country open up, or whatever may happen tomorrow with restrictions, virtual events and virtual fundraising is here to stay for the long run. So as I said, with COVID-19, OCRA realized that virtual fundraising is an important tool in raising critical funds for ovarian cancer research. Virtual fundraising is an easy and useful way to ensure that we are constantly keeping a presence both locally and nationally, and when you feel it's appropriate, can be readily transitioned to in-person fundraising. Sorry, I'm just reading from Rhonda. Good afternoon. Do you ever consider combining with a local or state OC? So right, that's a great question. And that is actually our community partner program. So I touched about it briefly during the ovarian cycle / that structured class program, where we actually have 81 community partners, all dedicated in some manner to ovarian cancer. And they are always able to join into our efforts. If they want to join ovarian cycle program, they can create a team or a HIT cardio class. They could create a team, and 50% of the proceeds from that team come back to the organization. It's a great way for those local or state organizations to use our tools, the website we create for ovarian cycle, the community the committee that has come to us to fundraise for OCRA. It's a great way for them to jump on the ship with us, help create the event, make it bigger and better. And then everyone's happy because they get a portion of the proceeds kicked back to them, and OCRA is able to really make an impact in that state and local community. If you have additional question, feel free to put it in the chat. But for the time, I'm going to just go back to the virtual fundraising. So as I said, virtual fundraising is great for not only, like I said in the last sentence, that readily transition to be in-person fundraising, but it's also a great way just to get your word out there, to make sure that, if you can't host an event, you can fundraise for OCRA. You can make sure that your story is told on a loud platform through social media sharing, through email campaigns. So what better way to describe virtual events than to talk about OCRA's success with them? So in the beginning of this year, we hosted 23 for Hope, which is OCRA's new grassroots virtual fundraiser that was customized and could be done on a smaller scale for you. So what it was this idea that for every 23 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And we wanted to use that number as this signature number. That's something that we want to focus on. And we asked our community, get involved, fitness for 23 minutes, donate $23, share with 23 friends. And the idea was, we realized, okay, we have this really great, passionate, fitness enthusiasts through the ovarian cycle program, through the HIT cardio, through the yoga, and through all those class structure events. Why can't we bring it to the virtual landscape? And that's what we did. We challenged our group for a month-long process, 23 minutes of activity, $23 raised, 23 friends donated, and the event raised over $10,000. Just because we couldn't be in person, it doesn't mean that we can't fundraise. It doesn't mean that we can't challenge our community to bring them together. Now, as the sentence said, all virtual fundraisers don't need to be this grandstand, 23-minute, $23. Obviously we have a large database and we sent it to everyone, but it can be scaled back to your community. Now, I do want to say with the virtual events, you always want to have a targeted timeline. If it's a singular day, that might be virtual. So we've seen it with running events where, on October 20th, we're encouraging all those in Jersey City to get out and run 5 miles. Share with your friends and family, take a picture, send it back to us. We'll post it on our page, and let's get that out there, because you can tell your story in that matter. You can share why you're running 5 miles, then your friends can reshare and ask why show why they're running 5 miles, and so on and so on. That's an idea where it's one day. You're asking everyone virtually to get involved on October 20th to run 5 miles in their local community. You could also do what 23 for Hope did and have a more month-long, week-long, but more of a targeted but weekly or monthly challenge where you don't need to get involved on this particular day, but get involved in this time frame. Now, both of those have great merits, but when you have an event, we definitely want a end date. That doesn't mean that if the event ends on October 20th, i.e. the 5 miles in your local community, it doesn't mean that your friends can't donate after the fact or get involved after, but it always shows best, similar to in-person events, when you have a end date or a culmination of month-long challenge or a one-time event, it always does better with fundraising and getting your friends involved. Now, this does not correlate to fundraising pages, which can happen all year and can be targeted to your birthday, to anniversaries, to special meetings or dates. And I'll get to that in a second. Tribute pages. As I was just talking about with the fundraising pages, tribute pages are, whether you're remembering a loved one, showing support for someone currently in treatment, or celebrating your own survivorship, a tribute page is your own dedicated place to help raise much needed funds for ovarian cancer research. It's a great way to tell your story, share with friends, and help change the future of ovarian cancer for generations to come. Tribute pages are a great way to show your story, to show if it's your connection to ovarian cancer, if it's someone currently in treatment, if, as I said, celebrating your own survivorship, or a tribute to someone who unfortunately has passed away from ovarian cancer. All three of those reasons are a really great way to tell your story, to get your community involved, to open up and to show what it's like being impacted personally by ovarian cancer. And in the next slide, I'll talk to you about how to create these pages, but these are ones that can just be in the background that, on anniversaries, on birthdays, on meetings, on dates that are meaningful to you, you can reshare the tribute page. You can provide updates and, almost create it like a rolling story of what it means to create this page, what it means for your community to get behind you. So how to create a tribute page. You want to visit OCRAHope.org, click on Get Involved, click on Honor a Loved One, and then right here, it will show Create a Tribute Page. Do not worry, this is recorded, and I'm also always here, and my email will be at the end of this presentation to help you get there. But it's really simple. Just go to Get Involved, Honor a Loved One, and then create a tribute page. And then once you get there, it's super streamlined. It just asks for your information. It asks to post a picture, to personalize the story. Again, it's always great. One of the marquee themes of this presentation is personalization, storytelling, getting your story out there, getting your voice out there. If that's through the event, through this page, you always want to tell your story. So on the flip side of tribute pages, you also have Facebook fundraisers. And Facebook fundraiser have made it an easy way to make such a big impact. And what you want to do is visit OCRA's Facebook page at OCRA Hope and click on Create a Fundraiser. Set your goal, share with your social network. To date, Facebook fundraisers have raised over $3 million for OCRA. Facebook fundraisers are great, and I know Instagram has fundraisers now, and I'm sure Twitter and LinkedIn will adopt it soon. But let's just focus on Facebook fundraisers, and they can be translated to all the social media platforms. They're such a great way to quickly tell your story, to quickly, I always make my birthday a Facebook fundraiser because it's so easy. It already predicates what, organizations I follow and wants me to fundraise for them. Sometimes they'll even donate $1, which every dollar goes towards ovarian cancer research, which is great. It's a free dollar. And it's a really easy way to share your story, to get your friends involved. And they work just as well as tribute pages, but they have different meanings. The tribute page is within OCRA's website. It really is much more about learning about ovarian cancer, OCRA's work. It links back to the organization, but all the funds come to us. And Facebook fundraisers are a lot more quick one-off fundraisers. So it's really hitting those buttons for the birthday fundraiser. You want to do a month-long Facebook fundraiser your friends can quickly share, and it pops up on social media, on Facebook. A great thing is all the money comes back to OCRA. So both ways are a really easy and simple way to donate to OCRA and to keep that virtual landscape always present. to always make sure that we're always having pages out there, that people are always telling their story virtually. And then when you couple that with your virtual events, again, having that particular culmination of an event in the virtual landscape, your ovarian cycle, HIIT cardio, your yoga class, or your DIY, so that golf outing, the yoga, the paint party, the community dinner, all of those types of events and those pages and those stories, when you put them all together throughout the year, it really tells this unified voice that no matter what happens, we are always fundraising for OCRA and for the ovarian cancer community. And again, you don't need to do this alone. No matter what, get a committee, get your friends and family involved. Even if it's something simple as posting on Facebook fundraiser, maybe I think it's 3 years ago now, I ran the New York City Marathon for a nonprofit. And when I was creating my story to make on my Facebook page, I didn't just write it myself. I asked my friends and family, hey, can you proofread this? Hey, can you help me, tell my story? I had some people who focus in English. I had my English teacher friends who look it over, because even if it's just a Facebook page, it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Get your friends and family involved to help create your story, to help tailor it to make it the most profound and most impactful. Or if you're hosting an event, get your friends and family in that committee to help plan the event, finding the venue, finding the date, getting those involved, both in a monetary sponsor, in-kind sponsor, fundraising, all of these things. Yes, we are all OCRA heroes, but we don't need to do it alone. Get your community to be heroes with you, because that way we could fundraise the most for OCRA and the ovarian cancer community. So with that, I have my contact info here. As I said, I am Jay Carlin, the Associate Director of Donor Relations. Do not worry, this is recorded, and we can send out my number and email to those who have attended the event. But, we do have one question that was actually asked before, and it was, I'm from a small town. How can I get involved? And all of these reasons I've just explained, the hosting the event in your local community, making it particular to you and personal, the ovarian cycle, the HIIT cardio, the DIY, the virtual event, and the virtual fundraising page. I mean, half of those aren't even situated to a geographical limitation because it's the virtual landscape. Everyone's on Facebook. It doesn't matter if you're from a small town or a large city. Everyone's on Facebook. Everyone can read your tribute page. Everyone can do that 5-mile run in their local community. And on the flip side, the in-person fundraising events, get that to be a staple of your local community. So many times have I seen DIY ovarian cycles, they've come to us and be like, even when we have turnover from the committee after years of participating, others step up because it's now become a staple of that local community. It doesn't matter if it raises 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. It can still be a part of the heart of that community. And it could be a reason that every September, every October, every March, that these groups of people come together. Because no matter what, if you have a personal connection to ovarian cancer, or your friends do, or they may not, everyone would get involved because they're going to hear our stories and those who are impacted by ovarian cancer. And that way they'll want to be heroes too, because they see the heroic deeds that we're all doing every day. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to open it up to any questions that you all might have. I think we're getting someone connected. So maybe I'm going to actually ask a question to you guys. You can either respond audibly or maybe just show your screen and then take it off. But who here ever hosted an event for OCRA? It could be a tribute page. It could be a Facebook fundraiser. It could be an ovarian cycle event. Who here has ever fundraised for OCRA? So Melissa has a Facebook fundraiser. Ellen has showed her screens. Jonathan has put a smiley face, so we know he's fundraised. It's so great is that it doesn't matter how you fundraise. It doesn't matter if you fundraise tomorrow, but as we are heroes, but like I said in the beginning of this presentation, by joining this session, by wanting to fundraise more, the timing of it is all about what works for you and your committee. And again, it could always be virtual. We've really just seen how much of an impact virtual events and fundraising have, because it's so quick. If you might not want to jump into the event landscape yet by hosting an ovarian cycle or DIY, you don't need to right now. We want to make sure it's a fun and enjoyable experience. Start by hosting a virtual event or a virtual page or a Facebook fundraising page, because you can see who's getting involved, who's donated, but who's also gotten involved, who's messaged you privately and said, hey, that's such an empowering story. Please let me know I could help. Getting those people to come out in the virtual landscape and then translating them to the in-person events is a great way to really, slowly get into the deep end of the pool when it comes to hosting fundraising events in person by starting virtually. While I was talking, we actually had a couple of people in the chat. Let me see what everyone's saying. So we have Melissa, who's hosted a Facebook fundraiser. That's great. Rhonda's done Facebook and Amazon. Yes, Amazon's a great way. The buyback, you could always donate more, or the Amazon Smile is what they call it. All of these, I'm going to say social media, even though Amazon might not be a social media platform, but all these social media style givings are a really great way to dip your feet into the vast majority of, or vast options of fundraising. Again, those can lead to staying on Facebook, sharing it constantly, doing birthday fundraisers, coming into a fundraising page or tribute page, or even doing it in person. They all speak to each other. And it's this fluid method of making sure it's best for you and your community, because we're always going to be here to help. We're always going to empower you and support you and your story. So find what works best for you. And if you don't know, you can always reach out to me and I can help. So let me see what else. We got a couple more. Facebook birthday, that's great. Often added to share OCRA Facebook post. Yep, that's a great one. Carla, share what we have. When we post, maybe a research note or a patient program, women to women, survivors teaching students. If we post something like that, it's a great way to share, to inform your community, and then ask to donate, maybe in that post or after. Use us as a resource to provide the national storytelling of ovarian cancer and what the updates are, because your community might not know. I'm sure as when I started professionally fundraising with OCRA, a lot of individuals don't know the intricacies of ovarian cancer. And it's our job not only to raise the funds, but to inform them that this might not be directly impacting you, but it may impact your mother, your daughter, your sister, your cousin, your friend, because we all know someone who was somehow directly impacted by ovarian cancer. And it's our job to tell our story. And again, in-person events, Facebook fundraisers, tribute pages, virtual events, they're all great ways to have this type of storytelling method to fundraise, to raise awareness. Let me see what else, just excuse me while I read this. Hosted Facebook fundraisers. I usually do one for my birthday. Giving Tuesday is a great one. Always get involved in Giving Tuesday. OCRA gets involved, obviously nationally with our database. It's a great way for everyone, that might not be fundraisers, your friends who typically might not donate. They know about Giving Tuesday. They've seen it on their social media platforms. If you've gotten an e-blast from an organization, it might be a, crowded space of fundraising, but that just means we have to speak louder, that we have to tell our stories. We have to make it personal, that we have to share OCRA's Giving Tuesday, goals, or your own Giving Tuesday goals that you want to maybe donate $500 to OCRA, get involved. So that idea is really great. And then Carla, absolutely. Please, unmute yourself and speak. I think Carla, you're still muted.
How about now?
Yep, you are good.
Okay, I just wanted to mention quickly, I'm sort of an expert on this particular stuff, having been an independent bookseller. A lot of people think that the Amazon Smile is 5%, but it isn't. It's 0.05%. So you have to spend $1,000 on Amazon to get $5 for your Smile designee. So when I just very gently tell people that and say, you might not realize that you have to spend $1,000 to get $5. So why not write a check for $50 to your, to the cause you want to support instead, and cut out the middleman and get the money right there. I don't want to lecture about it, but it's a pet peeve of mine. And I know many, many people think it's 5%, which would be great. but Jeff Bezos is not doing that. So anyway, thanks for letting me
Absolutely.
have a minute.
Absolutely, no problem. And thank you for letting us know. As Carla kind of mentioned in that, it's always great to speak to your community that, the way you want your community to give is always personal to you. So, Carla mentioned that Amazon might not give as much as people think. And again, it's the idea that you're asking them to get involved. It's almost similar to those ovarian cyclists. I'm just going to use the in-person program to make this relatable. Those ovarian cyclists who join the event and the registration fee is $50. Well, that's great. They got involved. They donated $50, and that's a really good amount to donate. But it doesn't mean that they have to stop there. That they, if they're not asked to fundraise for OCRA when they've gotten that bike, or maybe those who donate to Amazon Smile, but they might not realize it's as much coming back to OCRA. It's our job to be expert fundraisers, to be the heroes, to champion our story and our community, to ask them in a polite and meaningful manner, hey, can you get involved? We're doing a Facebook fundraising page. I saw you join my Amazon Smile, and maybe you only donated, I just don't say like this, but maybe they only donated 5 cents, but they donated. Now try to get them over to your Facebook fundraising page or your tribute page or your in-person event, because they, for some reason, maybe it's your story, maybe they have a personal connection, they have gotten involved in the OCRA hero story and the fundraising expertise that all of our heroes, imbued and push out. So no matter what, we have to ask our community to get involved. I'm seeing a couple of more chats here. Kroger does as well. So Melissa, I understand that fundraising can be a little stressful, and it's always okay if it's, again, not bringing you that joy and fun, and if it's being, perpetuated to your community, that it's not being that enjoyable sense. It's okay. Let's say you're doing an in-person event, to just do your birthday fundraisers, to scale it back, to make sure that, yes, you're keeping the voice out there, that you're focusing on fundraising on the community, but it's enjoyable for you too, that it's not too much stress on you where it's no longer happening, because we don't want you to burn out. We want our heroes for the long run. We want you guys committed into our cause for years to come, because that's how it's going to happen, is when we keep going in on fundraising, on storytelling, on getting our community involved. That's how it's going to happen. Jonathan, yes, I think I have to ask you. Jonathan would like to say a few words. So there we go. Hey. Jonathan, you were unmuted.
Hey, yeah, just to Jake's already said it all, but just to the point of Melissa, you're almost giving up. Every little bit matters. And I tend to try to stress that. And, I never thought that this was going to be something I did. It started as a very personal thing for me, just for me. I was just going to give to the OCRA, and that led to something different. And I remember my first call with Jake, and he was probably sitting there thinking, who the heck is this guy? He thinks he's going to organize an event in 2 weeks. I think what you'll find, and somebody's already said this, Carla has said this, but if you put the personal connection to it, along with a dollar amount, like a goal, people love hitting goals, right? Realistic goals, but people love hitting goals. And you put the personal connection to it, and then also briefly, how that's impacting the work, you'd be shocked at how many people will come out, even if you just blast every single person which is what I do, frankly. And then if you want to hit a goal and you're not quite there yet, what I'll do at the very end is, if I blast, say, 500 people and I need, I can't do math, but $5,000 more dollars, I'll just send an email out and say, hey, thank you guys all for donating. I know you've already donated, but if each and every one of you just donates $10 more, we'll hit our goal. And you'd be surprised how many people will do that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Jonathan. And Jonathan is one of our expert OCRA heroes who has hosted, the wine night, as he was saying, in his 2 to 3 week turnaround. He's hosting an event in San Francisco. He's run marathons. He's really done it all, because all of those reasons are personal to him. He loves running, so he did the San Francisco Marathon, and then he was able to go back to his community and get them involved. He had the connection to the venue that hosted the wine night. He wanted to get his company involved in himself in a community dinner or gala style, and that was personal to Jonathan and his community, got behind him and his committee got behind him. Now, what Jonathan mentioned was a really great point that I was actually going to mention, but still the words right out of my mouth, but was mission numbers. And they're a great way for OCRA to help you no matter what. And what they are is tangible, smaller gift amounts that can really show your community what does that $100, $200, $500, what does that gift come in terms to OCRA? How can that be digestible to your community? It's a really great way, as Jonathan mentioned, his math of, the 500 friends raising $5,000 in the last week. Again, that targeted, people love goals. And that's why events always have end dates, because you want to hit that goal by the end date. And if you're doing a virtual event, you want to have that event have an end date or a challenge week or month, because you want to hit and have achievable targets. Again, this doesn't correlate as much to just fundraising pages, because those can go on in the background all year. But all of those, targets can be hit, and we can help you, or myself can help you by saying, donating $100 can provide XYZ. And it just helps your community digest what is that $100 gift doing, or what can it do for OCRA and the ovarian cancer community. And, as Jonathan said, it all started with a phone call, that relationship him and I have had that have now, I think it's going on our 3rd or 4th year now. He just wanted to get involved. He had this idea to host a wine night. He's done the marathon at that point prior to our call. He wants to get involved in the fundraising landscape. And we just had a conversation. It doesn't need to be this, I know everything in the top of my head. When I call Jake, I'm going to have everything laid out. I just need to create the event website or the e-blast or social media help or anything like that. It can start off by saying, hey, here's my story. I want to get involved. I'm not sure how. Can we have a conversation? Let's set up a half hour on the calendar. Hear your story. What can we do to translate that personal connection into fundraising for OCRA? I'm just looking through the chat. Carla, 100% agree. It's because no one's asked. A lot of times donations are not given because no one asked. And, it's funny is with Facebook fundraisers and everything and social media giving, in a good way, the fundraising landscape has become crowded. There's, it's so much easier to give. Therefore, there's so many other nonprofits that have very viable missions, that have reasons to get involved with them. And it's not saying one is more important than the other, but we're here at the conference and we're OCRA heroes because we understand the importance that ovarian cancer has to us and to those that surround us. So it's our job to ask our friends and family, hey, I know you give to XYZ cancer, nonprofit or cancer institution or social justice issue. Can you donate $50 to ovarian cancer? Can you hear my story? I would love to set up a time to talk to you about it. And it's those smaller asks with targeted goals that really allow us to flourish. I'm gonna, it is now 3:33. So I'll leave this up for another minute or two if anyone wants to jump in the chat or ask a question. But again, this is all recorded. I will be sending this out in an email along with my contact info so that I could help, again, have that first conversation. Or if you're an expert fundraiser, maybe ways to revitalize your fundraising tactics, or you want to maybe just change route and go from a virtual event or virtual page to an in-person page. Either way, myself and the OCRA staff is always here for you. Sorry, there's a long Carla. Yeah, that's a great, Carla has a great idea is, with social media and with the virtual landscape, it's such an easy way to not just let your friends and family know in the geographical location of your local community or those in just your inner circle of friends and family, but to anyone. How many people on your Facebook page are people you haven't talked to in 10 years? Maybe they're high school friends, you might have had college friends, childhood friends. But again, this idea that ovarian cancer impacts us all. Telling your story and putting it out there, that person may see that you understand their story, that you guys have similar stories. Connect with them. Ask them to reach out to you privately to have that conversation. This idea of being an OCRA hero does not need to be individualistic just to those in this session or at this conference, but we can all be heroes. And it's great to always just put our messaging out there through event fundraising, through virtual fundraising, and through fundraising pages. Perfect. With that, I'm going to leave it up for another like 10 or so seconds for anyone. Again, you could do the private chat just to me and I could ask your question. You could do it to everyone, or if you'd like to, just speak, you could leave your camera off, but just leave it up for a couple more seconds. And then we have another full day of session tomorrow. And I thank you all for just being OCRA heroes. If this is your first session, your third session, or even your fifth, we as an organization cannot do it without you and without you fundraising for the cause. Perfect. Well, with that, everyone, I'm not seeing anyone else in the chat. And I thank you so much for your time. And as I said, this is recorded and I will be reaching out to you all with my contact info. And I hope to stay in touch for this year, next year, and for years to come. All right. Bye, everyone.